Radio Free Skaro.
Hello everyone, welcome to Radio Free Skaro, episode number 730. I am Stephen at Gallifrey One.
Warren at Gallifrey One.
And Chris at Gallifrey One.
There we go. This is the most unusual episode we'll ever record.
Because it's at Gallifrey One.
It's at Gallifrey One, and we're reviewing a new episode of Doctor Who.
Will this ever happen again?
According to some information that Tracy Simpson dropped on a panel at Gallifrey One, at least not next year, because it looks like they are going to start producing Series 13 in September.
Okay, then yeah.
And then likely an autumn 2021 release in all likelihood.
Yep. So if you liked autumn releases for your Doctor Who, and I think I do.
I like Saturday releases for my Doctor Who.
Let me tell you this. So we're at Gallifrey One.
Though this is cool to have happen too. So
yeah, what?
Seeing
Having an
it
episode.
and then immediately podcasting from Gallifrey One.
That's true. But today has been like, because there's like 3 panels I wanted to go to, and then there was like the watching of the episode, and then there was the running around, and then they had the screening of the 1957 documentary that they couldn't find, and so they screened the episode instead. And then we had to run upstairs, and then here we are. Like, I just feel like this is the most hectic podcast day ever, and we got like, I didn't do anything.
For you, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, well, it was. I didn't. There's no interviews. I did no interviews.
Nope.
this year because of this crazy Sunday.
Well, at least nothing we recorded.
That's true.
So I suppose we should let's leave that for after. We have an episode to talk about.
Yeah, well, on this episode of Radio Free Skaro, we will talk about episode 8 of series 12, The Haunting of Villa Diodati. And then after that, we'll give our Gallifrey One recap, including regaling you with tales of my Christopher Eccleston interview that both of you missed because you couldn't actually get in the auditorium.
I think I was on a panel or something. There was a reason I wasn't there.
I think you were, yeah.
Well, yes, I went to. Again, we should save this for later. Your Eccleston interview started at 5 p.m. I was in a panel at 4 p.m., which was with a few of the exec producers of the Orville.
Yeah.
And so, of course, by the time I got out of that panel, there was no room.
None.
To get into the Eccleston interview. There's quite a long line of people to get in, and even they didn't all get in. And then this morning, there's the second iteration of it with Ty Gooden and Deb Stanish.
Yep.
And... oh, doctor. It started at 10 o'clock, and I don't know if you guys saw pictures of the line, but they asked that people who wanted to get in this morning line up as of 9 o'clock.
Right.
And if you didn't get to the first one, then you're going to get prioritized to get into the second one. And the lines were out around A.
Basically to the street, right?
Yeah, almost. Out around A, out to the courtyard, and then up the, parkade ramp, and there was a lot of people looking to get in.
And they all got in because there were some empty single seats in the back.
At the back, yeah.
A few rows, and that's where I sat in because I figured I didn't have a seat in the audience for the first one, so I suppose I can claim one in the second one, right?
Yeah, technically.
Yeah. But as you say, we'll talk about that later. Let's get to an episode review in person. This is very interesting and strange because I have no idea what either of you thought.
Velcro.
No, listen to that. Listen. Did that pick up? I don't know. I don't know.
Completely unprofessional.
No, that's some good podcast right there.
Yeah. Directed by Maxine Alderton. No, written by Maxine Alderton, directed by Emma Sullivan. Both newcomers to Doctor Who. Yes, Warren, who's watching it now. I've got it playing out, and Warren's just been watching it the entire time as we do this. What's your initial thoughts on this episode?
I liked it quite a bit. I think everything Hyde did as a haunted house story, which Hyde did quite well, this did even better. I thought it just... basically, they used every haunted house trope they could, but they did it to great effect.
Yes.
And And also, just looking at it right now, the look of it is spectacular. Like, it looks fantastic. And there's a lot of tricks in this. I just saw one happen with Graham going through the stairs, which is a very simple trick to do. It's just a locked camera, and then he goes through one thing, and then they stop it and goes through again. But it works so effectively. And there's a lot of that in this, which I liked quite a bit. Until it goes completely off the rails in an equally exciting direction.
Yeah, because we don't have Doctor Who Confidential anymore. I can't tell you if how these things were shot, but I know Hyde was actually filmed by candlelight for scenes that required, and I bet you this probably was
well,
too.
probably because with the digital cameras that are around now, you can pull the Kubrick thing
sure
off.
can,
For the high end ones have incredible light sensitivity, so it would not surprise me if this is shot with candlelight and a little bit of zhuzh.
Zhuzh, you say? Is that the technical term?
That's not a technical term at all.
No.
Or if it is, it's for fashion and not lighting.
Yeah, it looks sumptuous.
Yeah, it looks
sumptuous.
Great. It really does.
It's
interesting just watching the beginning, like we were, where it starts comedically and it just goes not very comedically at all after that. It's just funny to see how Byron and Shelley et al. Are all, oh, what a delight! We're reading a funny story about something scary, and then, oh boy, does that change?
It does.
Yeah, it had a very hammy feel to the to the cold open,
which was fine. It worked.
It reminded me a lot of the way they handled Shakespeare Code and the kind of over the topness of that with.
It was a bit, yeah, but I liked it because I get the impression that those poets in the 18th, 19th century would be fops anyway.
Oh, the complete and utter fops. And not just the impression, Byron totally is a complete and utter fop in this.
I have to admit, I don't know a lot about
I don't
Mary
either.
Shelley.
I took English as my secondary thing in university, and I am completely in the dark on most of this.
Yeah, I might have to do some reading afterwards. Another historical that has made me read up on things. 8 for Earth-based stories, too, by the way. If anybody's keeping count, for whatever reason. But Chris, what's your initial thoughts? I thought we were referring to your massive list of notes. What's your first thoughts on this?
It's not that massive.
No? Did you watch these? I know you watched it somehow on... before the actual
using
public
magic,
screening.
I believe,
Did you watch?
Yes.
Did you watch a public screening too, or
No.
Okay.
No.
I saw the last half hour of it because I had to wait in line to get into it.
Oh, did you
Yes.
really? Oh,
Yes.
wow. Goodness me.
There was a lot of audience reaction at certain points, which we will go into further later.
Yeah, that was great. Anyway, Chris, your initial thoughts?
Yeah, I've had a chance to watch this 3 times.
3?
3.
But
3.
how so? What's the third one? We're recording at like 6:13
Are you
local
counting
time.
this laptop viewing on
this
silent
doesn't
as the
count.
third
Like
one?
it's playing out in front of us.
That'd be number 4.
Okay, that's 3.5.
3.5.
That's just math.
Although it's without audio for what we have going on
Yeah,
here.
we're not going to turn it up. either.
No, the BBC One broadcast.
All right. Somehow.
Yeah, magic.
Yeah, magic.
And then we had a whole group of us watching it this afternoon.
Again, different kind of magic, but
Different
also
kind of magic. And then a little while after that, I had some downtime. Didn't know
You watched
what
it
to
again?
do.
Wow.
I watched it a third time in my room, magic, so I could actually make some notes.
Can I
I had a less busy Sunday than you did.
I guess so, because I mean, we'll go into the Gallifrey stuff that we saw and didn't
I got
see.
to one panel today. So.
Right. Can I, is it infer? I was getting these words
No,
mixed
it's
up.
probably infer, yeah.
Infer that by watching it 3 times in basically 3 hours, this is not an episode you hated.
3 times in about, I guess, a 6 hour span.
Okay, but still.
Well, I mean, I watched it the first time because
It
it
was
is.
there, I know.
Second time, watched it with you guys and some other friends to have a bit of a group reaction
It's
to
kind
it.
of fun, yeah.
And then third time for notes. So, yes, I liked it.
Okay, good. That's what I was getting at. I think you wouldn't.
Quite the
Actually,
preamble.
maybe you would. I think maybe you would. Oh, I really hated that. Let's watch it again. Let's rip it a new one.
I've done that.
Let's watch a
I have
third
done
one.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. I know.
42 comes to mind.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Back when I was trying to keep track if it was actually a real time clock.
Which miffed you mightily, apparently.
Which it wasn't.
Yeah. So you liked it. Yeah, I think we all liked this.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I've seen I haven't spent that much time on social media just because
Oh, God, no.
I chose not to. But I did see several people saying favorite of the series, favorite of the Chibnall era, favorite since episode X, Y, or Z years ago.
Yeah.
Things like that. So it seems to have a fairly positive reaction almost across the board. I've seen
Even Neil Perriman liked it. I mean, he's like most of the series. He's sort of like he's kind of our grumpy focus group over there in the UK, and sometimes he doesn't like episodes. But even he has been mostly positive about this season.
Yeah, no, I've seen one negative one, and it's from a not.
So that's the one we're gonna focus on.
It's from one of those there hashtag not my doctor types.
Oh well, who
So
cares?
of course
Exactly.
they're gonna say negative stuff.
Do not care about that. I'm frantically trying to scroll through, Twitter to find out where our original poll was so that I can use that. Because Warren, as a birthday present to you, even though it's not as Christopher Eccleston's birthday present to you, we're not going to do stats on this episode.
Oh, glorious.
I know. Well, just wait until next week.
I'm even wearing a badge that says
yes,
stats.
who made that for us?
Sarah
Murphy made that.
Right.
And the only way I could wear a sorry to this man pin was to
Right.
accept the stats pin. So I did take this devil's bargain.
Sometimes even you can't win.
I know.
And
So
I
misquote
just
the
happily
doctor.
accepted the stats pin she made for me.
Yeah, because I was happy to have that. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah, people liking Doctor Who or something. Still can't find the damn poll that we did, but we did a poll. Last time I checked, it was like at 66% liking it.
You
that is.
Oh, you did. Oh, there
It is.
I can see you found it.
66%. Now, this is literally BBC America has just finished its airing, which, of course, we just watched it on. So I'm going to retweet that.
You bet we did.
66, 22, 8, and 4 in that order. 8 and 4 is a remarkably low number for the it was okay.
88% liked or loved.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
Okay.
It's a lot of positivity towards this season of Doctor Who. Probably too much for some listeners and stuff. And that's
Given how low the ratings are and how the show is doing.
yeah. So yeah.
Oh, Warren brought up stats.
No, I didn't.
Whoa.
I guess I did, kind of.
Oops. It's been a long weekend, I understand. No, boy, it looked great. It was well acted. There was some proper drama. I liked how the Doctor really took a darker turn
Stepped
for the
up,
first
too.
real time in Jodie's
She
era.
got angry.
Boy, did she. I like angry doctors.
Well, what I like about that is she did do the angry doctor, and she did point out, rightly so, that she is top dog in this whole mess.
Yeah.
But she didn't do it in the way the other doctors have.
No.
Making themselves grandiose. She said, I don't like this, but here's the deal, which I thought was great.
Yeah.
A bit of a dropping some reality out there.
And indeed a Mike, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe. None of the companions are called Mike.
No, there's never been a companion called Mike.
There's been an actor,
There's been a few. of them.
Michael Craze.
Michael Craze.
Michael Yates.
That's no. Mike Yates, of course.
So he's
Mike
kind of a
Yates.
Mike.
Is right.
Is he a
yeah.
companion, though? Yeah,
Look at Warren pulling that nugget out of his brain.
Wow.
Look at me. Amazing.
Pulled up a nugget.
That's the one.
Of
That's the one
minutia?
that we will nothing else.
You did a stat, Warren. What is happening to you at this convention?
I need to rest.
I guess so. Hey, let's use your notes because I'm not used to reviewing episodes with both of you in the same room, so
No.
this is going to be weird. So
No.
what? Use your notes as talking points, Chris. What have we got today?
We can just make faces at you as you try to concentrate and stuff.
Possibly. Don't do that. What do you got?
Not in the notes. I liked the way the structure was set up. So it's basically like almost to the minute, like half and half story. So you got the half the story with Byron and Shelley and all them, and then the other half of the Cybermen. And it's just a nice way to tell a story. We don't have something really, really lopsided where there's like 3 minutes of Cybermen and the rest is just filler and fluff.
No, this one was very tightly put together, I thought. And this kind of story can go off the rails real easy.
I thought it maintained the mystery just as long as it needed to, and then the Cybermen took over.
Yeah.
You know? By the way, the Cybermen's there, which is pretty
Well,
cool.
a
We'll get to
Cyberman
that.
anyway, yeah.
Yeah, and I
Cybermen.
mean, you think of something like this if they did it in the classic series. Like I think of the way they did the 4 and 2 splits in the Hinchcliffe area, for example. That's probably what we would have had back then.
Right.
4 episodes of Byron et al. And
Yeah.
then 2 episodes of Cybermen.
All of a sudden the Cyber shows up,
or
a la
Derek
the
Deadman
Sontarans.
running around.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So right off the bat, I wanted to just bring up some things I liked as far as like ties to prior episodes. There were three pretty big ones that I plucked out.
All right.
First big tie to an earlier episode, Ada Lovelace.
Oh, right, yes.
Oh, was she mentioned?
Yeah.
Yes, Byron is her father.
I didn't know that.
I was a little confused watching it. I heard it, and I was like, I'm going to have to check this out later.
I probably did know that when we talked about this, and then I forgot.
Possibly, Dr.
I'm just
Moon.
covering all the
Yeah.
bases just in case listeners get angry at me. But
There's a bit where the doctor brings up Ada, and Byron says, "Oh, you know of my daughter?" And she says, "Yeah, brilliant brain," or something like that.
Ah, I remember that, and I didn't put two and together to see who it was. Well, that makes sense. Interesting.
So the
right.
mother of all computers is the product of a flouncing fop.
Yes.
So our phones are the product indirectly of a flouncing fop.
Yes.
A flouncing fop whose friend had a supercomputer wrapped around his cerebral cortex.
That's true. That part is very historically accurate.
Yeah.
Apparently, as far as historical accuracy goes, Byron left Ada Lovelace's mother a month after Ada was born and moved. So that's where this comes into play.
Okay.
When he says, when they talk about the fact he had to leave England and can't really go back, and he didn't.
Interesting. That is, speaking as someone who's interested in history, I think that's pretty convenient that a famous poet then gave birth to Ava.
I don't know if history
Ada
can be
Lovelace.
termed convenient.
I don't know.
It's not how
if
it
I was a
works.
scripter, I think, really, you're saying so? This world famous
Well, I mean,
poet
it's like looking at the
gives
years
birth to someone who
2016
invents the
2020.
internet. Oh, geez, I don't know about this. Said that back for a second draft.
But that's exactly now.
Yeah,
If
sure.
you look at reality now,
William
you're like, no, this
Shakespeare
is unrealistic.
dies on the same day he was born. Whatever. Write it again.
That's because they don't know.
I know, that's probably why.
The second one was the presence of a possible / changeable future.
Yes.
Because we have the bit where Ryan rather quickly brings up the prospect of sacrificing Shelley just to save everybody else because of Jack's warning about the lone Cyberman.
Right.
And of course that's we had that in Orphan 55 as well.
I like how Jodie, a.k.a. the 13th Doctor, completely dismisses Jack. She's like, yeah, whatever, he's not here right now.
Yeah. And then the third one, of course, also from Orphan 55 and beyond, the psychic link / mind reading aspect, so that we've got some continuity throughout the series. These little tidbits, which kind of helps to make the whole thing feel cohesive as a series.
Yeah.
Even without like a massive overarching arc.
Interesting. I never thought about that. I guess this is what happens when you watch it 3 times in the course of 5 hours.
Caught it the first, but
Yeah.
yeah. I wanted to bring up Fletcher, the valet.
Oh, he's great.
I
He's
wrote
God,
Lee
I loved
Fletcher. He was great.
He is such great comic relief.
great from the start. He's just enough. You know, what I mean, it's not
Yeah.
it's not over the top. He's just like
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's like Kiff in Futurama.
Yeah. Very much like a kid.
It's like you read my notes.
Oh,
Actually, I
look
brought
at
up Kiff and Zap from Zap from Futurama, but the doctor's telling the companions, these people are at the zenith of their creativity. Fletcher opens the door; they're flopping around on the floor,
Right.
and Fletcher just rolls his eyes
what
as
a
he walks through
surprise.
the doorway.
Oh,
A bunch
here
of
we
privileged
go.
intellectuals, probably high on absinthe, are acting like idiots. I'm shocked.
I do like that.
Keep talking. Yeah, just a little far away. Just there we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
As Stephen adjusts my microphone.
Sometimes trying to do it like I'm trying to mime very carefully. Just a little further away. And then I think you actually brought it closer.
Cut this all out.
Yeah.
Thank you. The mystery of the maid and the child that only Graham
Yes.
saw.
And then I liked that they didn't show any subtitles for her French. So when the Cyberman is leaning over, she goes, "Mon Dieu, une silhouette," or something like
Right.
that. I think calling it a ghost, essentially. I just found that interesting that they just have her speak French, and you're not supposed to know what she's saying unless you speak French.
Right.
Well, no forced subtitles in English.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was great closed captioning. Not that I
Yeah,
looked.
good point.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's nice that they have this element that only Graham saw. They leave it open at the end, like ghosts aren't real unless they are. And of course, you talked about tropes, Warren.
But they used them very well. Like horror movies are all about tropes, but it's how you do them. It's the most important thing.
Yeah, totally. Next point, great use of horror tropes.
There it is.
So that like the vase getting knocked off the shelf
Yeah.
after the maid walks by, and spins and does the double take. The ghost type sightings and all that kind of stuff.
I like the science explanations.
Yeah,
after the
I think that's
fact.
great.
That was
it's
great.
actually him.
Yeah.
And I like the shift to black and white, just so you have this obvious visual differentiation as well.
Well, who controlled? Was it him who controlled the hands then too? And
No. The hands were the Cyberium, as was the skull.
Okay.
I just loved having seen the skull just float, and occasionally have his mouth go. "Arr."
I think that's what it was. I've seen this 3 times. You'd think I'd know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's one thing I wasn't quite sure about as to how the hands started walking around.
I'm pretty sure it was the presence of the Cyberium that was animating the elements of the skeleton.
All right. That makes sense.
Graham was in top form.
Oh,
Loved him. Loved Graham.
I've seen people who said they didn't like his ridiculous attempts at period talk, and I was like, I thought they were great because they were terrible.
Right.
Well, exactly. It's the fact that they're terrible is what made them great.
Yeah, exactly.
But even like the first line out of his mouth, talking about how the driver will leave the carriage too far away, and it's like he was just looking for the lavatory and and his reaction to the chamber pot.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Graham was very, very funny. It was very, very doctorish that the doctor warns the companions not to break certain rules, like talking about Frankenstein, snogging Byron, and of course nobody kissed Byron, but she goes and
More on which later.
Yeah.
She goes and breaks the first rule about not talking about Frankenstein. She didn't say the word, but the setup.
Yeah, and they've had all this talk like during probably the walk up to the house or something. Like I like that they've had this debriefing what the rules are.
Probably because at the end of "Can you hear me?" she says, "Let's go see."
Exactly. I'm liking these like sort of like it's not a continuation a la the 1960s or indeed the early 1980s
or the Capaldi era,
or the Capaldi era, just sort of going from one episode to the next, not being like this isn't like a 3-parter with the 2-part finale, but it sort of leads into it, because it leads into from Can You Hear Me before that.
Speaking of, I guess one of the middling or negative reactions I saw out there was people were saying the ending felt way too rushed. And my first reaction to that was, no,
I don't think so.
The ending isn't rushed. It's a setup for what is yet to come.
And it's a good 5 minutes of setup, I would say, if not more.
And I felt that an invalid criticism.
I agree.
Take that, Internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, Internet. I love the bit when they're doing the dance, and Byron talks about how he absolutely hates gossip. And then the next like 5 minutes is everybody gossiping.
Yeah.
Which I'm assuming was just straight on form for this time period and those people.
Yeah.
Like that level of privilege.
It was gossipy for this upper class, little party here, but also it was a great way to sort of like get through the exposition of who was with who and who wasn't with who. I thought that was
half of which I was just it just blurred after a while.
I did a little bit for me, but I just like that that's the way you do it. It's like the walk and talk, it's the dance and talk. Now you basically put all your expositionary dialogue into a dance scene.
And I was surprised that all 4 companions were able to pull that off.
Yeah, that's true too. They must have taken lessons somewhere along the line, but
maybe the doctor gave them a lesson before they landed. I don't know.
I don't know.
I doubt it.
I doubt it too.
Claire traveled 500 miles to see Byron. Would she travel 500 more?
Oh, boo.
Boo. You took time to write that down as a note.
Shame on you.
Right at the top of the screen.
He's showing us right now, audience.
He did.
We already touched on it.
Because the Cyberman just showed up.
I know. It's very exciting.
Cyberman disappeared.
That's a big
Can I just mention, I think this is maybe the most horrific the Cybermen have been. I think more horrific than the Pandora opens, which is, I think, the only other time we've seen the insides of one. But that wasn't. That was more. And even then,
it was kind of a comic skull. And then you sort of think of the ones from World Enough in Time, with sort of the Mondasians. You see how they start.
That's true. Yes, and also I'm going to say, and people are not going to agree with me, Attack of the Cybermen. The guys who are half cybernized look like they're suffering, even though it's a admittedly stupid story. It's still kind of terrifying body horror in that, given what you're working with.
I love that this Cyberman is going through time and thus has the damaged head and stuff, but also it's got a Mondasian left arm.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, because you notice he grabs Mary Shelley, with
Right.
like the human. You can see sort of that sort of, arranged suit with the metal clamps on it, like the Mondasian arm, essentially, is what it is.
He's a continuity nightmare. I can't figure out where he fits in that.
Well, because he goes through the time, so basically bits of him have evolved,
But he hasn't been
different rates.
inhibited, right? So that means he's
That too. He's
or
got
got broken.
He's got some
it's
cyber
also
rage.
brought up that he's how is it phrased? Are you a man or are you multiple men or something like
Right.
that? Where the implication is that he's, a hodgepodge of multiple
He
bodies.
gives that backstory about how he murdered some resistance people, and I wasn't sure. I've heard it twice, and I still can't figure out what he's talking
Yeah.
about.
We'll get to that.
Okay,
Yeah.
We'll get
but,
to that.
But I was just also going to say that Cyberman continuity is poor to begin with, and always has been. So
Well, now that they sort of flip through time and stuff, now you can sort of really mess with it.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
but it's never been good.
No.
Yeah. One thing, just to kind of go riff off that tangent, is the Cybermen having time travel technology was really something that they never were allowed to have. Like, it was always stolen, or
Right.
they needed the TARDIS in Attack of the Cybermen, and they needed 3 pilots for the stolen time ship they had in Attack of the Cybermen and such. So the fact that this one is somehow arbitrarily going through time, that's kind of new. It's not.
Well, here's the good
Yeah,
thing:
well,
he'll
they're not doing very well at it.
he'll
Obviously.
erase the existence of the cyber brig. So I'm happy about this.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Did you see that person cosplaying as Cyberbrig?
No, I
did
didn't.
not.
There's somebody with, like, a brigadier outfit with a Cyberman head.
Okay, I mean, I'll give it that. I just don't like the idea to begin
Yeah.
with.
It was a very clever take. I liked how Claire trying to break and enter into the locked room was Byron's fault for keeping the door locked in the first place.
True.
I just found that funny.
Yeah.
I noted a failure of the Bechdel test as Yaz and Claire are talking right after the
Totally
lockpick
said-
scene.
I noticed that. I thought perhaps Yaz was going to let's twist it away and just talk about you, but no, they didn't actually.
Nope,
Yeah.
it's all about Byron
Yeah.
and his wandering eye.
He's a jerk.
Ryan
He gets his comeuppance.
Yeah.
Ryan didn't have a heck of a lot to do in this, but I loved his chopsticks.
Oh, he
Chopsticks
was funny.
was great.
He was the comedy. Well, he's the other comic relief. I
And at the
suppose.
end, he's the one who's like making the one other moral choice.
that's
right?
the big thing.
Yeah, and he's also the support person
Exactly.
for Mary Shelley to encourage her and keep her going.
In his inimitable style.
Yes.
But in a way, Series 11 we had Yaz kind of be the most subdued of the 3, and this year I think that's more Ryan. So a bit of a flip flop of the
Yeah.
character trait things.
Speaking of that scene, the Bechdel test failing scene, when Mary Shelley sort of talk about, there's lots of mysteries and enigmas when I ask, and then Yaz sort of like somewhat ruefully, I know what you mean. Like it's almost like,
I was like,
wait a second, Mary Shelley is talking about a romantic interest is Yaz
Is he
as
has?
well.
There's a term for the Yaz 13 ship, and I can't remember what it is.
Oh. Well, there was a flutter in the room when that
Yes,
line
that's
happened.
what I
Let me
mean.
tell you that during the live screening.
Okay.
Yeah, mostly by people that really want to ship. Yeah,
We're just watching Jodie and the Cyberman, and she's like, or as I call it, Tuesday, which I thought was a great line.
right. Next, Chris.
More Ryan.
Right.
When Polidori challenges him to a
or
duel.
Polly. Oh, right.
He's going to get a gun. He's going to get a gun. He's
gonna
going to get a gun.
I like
he's gonna
that.
Get a gun.
I like that he's panicking,
Yeah.
because like, oh god, he's gonna get a gun. Like we're in real trouble
And
here.
not only that,
You mean?
Polidori challenges lots of people to duels.
Yeah.
Also, those flintlocks are terrible, so you have nothing to
And I
worry
love how
about.
Fletcher just here we go again. Like
Yeah.
Fletcher rolls his eyes at least 3 times perfectly in this episode, and then dies.
Yeah, Fletcher's sighing when he's picked as the second. That was
Yes.
the
Yeah.
Kiff and Zap Brannigan moment for that. But yeah, him challenging lots of people to duels is reminiscent of the Simpsons episode where Homer goes around and slaps people with a glove.
slap.
Yes.
Glove slap. Yeah.
I loved the reaction to the doctor tasting the bone dust.
Right.
Well, I mean,
Oh yeah,
I did too.
I just
That's
did
gross.
his taste. They just like sucks on it like those little.
And then she's like, "Oh, it's perfectly normal."
Yeah.
like it's a
Yeah.
normal set of bones.
14th
14th
century.
No, 15th. A little more umami.
Yeah.
And
Doctor's gross. Yeah.
the line. She come.
How many you got there? Holy crap! There's a lot.
Yeah.
We're like 12 minutes into this episode, and you got like 30 pages of notes.
Well, I do. The line, she comes from somewhere much, much stranger, the North, when they're talking about the Doctor.
Yes, that's right. I did like that. That was
Despite the fact that this is not even set in England. They're
no,
still,
but
British.
They're who they
still British.
are. Yeah, they got a massive laugh in the auditorium. That was cool. It's fun watching an episode with a bunch of Doctor Who fans. Let me tell you,
it is.
They are enthused.
Yeah,
I regret not being able to get to see the screening, but it was very full, very early.
It was full. Yeah,
Like I said, I only got to the last half hour.
Yeah, nope.
A lot of people camping out, which I knew was going to happen. It's all good.
Yep. Next up,
after they look at or before they even look at the skeleton, the plumed helmet that the Doctor.
Yeah, that was very good.
That was great. I loved the Doctor playing with that, and now she'll probably have to come back for it for safety purposes. Safety purposes, not because it makes her look good.
Yeah, flicks her hair a little bit there. He wears it for longer than I thought you would during the scene too, which I thought was kind of
a good
cool.
chunk of the scene.
I just thought of this. Another connection back to previous era is where she goes, "I'm not going to let this happen again." Losing a companion.
That
I
was
like,
a big. That was a big one.
A big one in the audience too.
Yeah.
But referring to Bill directly.
Yeah. That was that. That felt like Chibnall righting wrong. I think
maybe.
I think that was like saying, okay, like, not that the Doctor didn't feel guilty about it, but like basically like, yeah, that happened, and I'm feeling bad about it.
And I'm
now.
to blame.
Yeah,
because it's true.
That
He
is
at the
true.
time was.
Yeah, that got another big reaction in the screening too, like applause reaction. Like that was quite something. Jodie was great in this.
Oh, she was excellent.
She was so good.
Like, we haven't gotten to the
she
best
was
part
amazing.
of her big speech at the end.
Yeah, indeed, which I'm sure we will.
We probably will.
I like that we're at like two different timelines. We got Chris's notes and then the episode that's playing out in front of us right now.
Yeah, they've
We're rapidly catching up though with Chris's notes.
just found Shelley.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
The way they shoot the Cyberman for the first while, where everything is focused on the right side of the face, that's already like that still has the Cyberman mask.
Yeah.
You don't see
The human side.
until after he finds the baby.
Yeah.
So that's one of them subtext things there.
See, that's another reason I thought that this was an early non-indoctrinated Cybermen, because why wouldn't they be all skin and bones at this point?
That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's all a mishmash because all different times, are represented in this one Cyberman.
But it's the Doctor even talks about the fact that he hasn't had everything repressed.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk. I mean, gosh, there is some proper like horror going on.
Yeah,
Like
totally.
when that poor French nurse is like hiding, and then the Cyberman tears off the cover the cover of the thing.
you hear
that
a
she's
crunch.
hiding. And then we hear a crunch. We don't see like she doesn't go comedy scream, and then we or anything like that. Like the camera just sort of cuts to a long shot, and she just stops screaming.
And you don't know, that could be the baby for all you know. And the fact that you put in this thing could kill a baby, that's pretty high stakes.
Yeah.
He doesn't, but
Well, apparently I saw some people disappointed we didn't get a Cyberman baby, like a cybernized baby.
Baby
bore it
Yoda
down.
is one
out of
thing.
this
How about that?
episode.
You might just think it's too cute, and they go, "Oh, look at this! It's like Baby Yoda, except with the Cyberman."
yeah, if Baby Yoda hadn't become a thing, would that have been a comment? No.
No, not at all.
Maybe. But speaking of the way they portray the Cyberman, just the strength that they show, like him just not like sweeps his arm across, knocks stuff off the table, fine.
Yeah.
And then,
Chops tables in half.
and then shortly after that, sends the table itself flying, which is great.
But not like too like remember Nightmare in Silver when all of a sudden like they were like super fast at some points, and like they're not they scaled them back. They're not like superhumans.
Well, and this one is weakened in a way.
But
now,
as you keep mentioning, he's
At different
he's
times.
not quite sort of complete. Even after recharging from the lightning, he's still not fully up to.
And how useful would the super speedy, for no reason, Nightmare in Silver Cyberman be in a house?
And he also doesn't clomp as much as like the RTD era Cyberman.
Oh,
There's some good clomping, though.
There was some, but not like clomp, clomp, clomp.
Yeah,
Like there weren't as many hydro. There was. It was. I think it was lowered in the mix of it. They aren't as loud clomps anymore.
And it was interesting to not have Nick Briggs' voice.
Or maybe he did. Maybe well, he was. No, it was probably just that guy's.
Yeah,
sort
I think
of
it was that
cybernized
actor,
voice.
yeah.
I never read the credits, but yeah.
Yeah, nor did I. The fact that the Cybermen and the Borg are very similar by their nature. I liked how Borg-like the Cyberman was, with half the face showing, and
Right.
just a very mixed a mix between the two. The shifting nature of the house, like
Yeah, that was very well done.
the stairwells, and how did we just come down to the top?
I know. It reminded me of both, the Invasion of Time, because I'm running around stairs and stuff, and in the TARDIS, but also the Horns of Time on. I thought, ooh, is this an
I got you beat for cheese. It reminded me of an episode of The Greatest American Hero, which is very similar.
That's a deep cut.
It is.
Goodness me. I actually thought the house inside a house perception filter. I thought,
is it the Master?
Master.
Yeah,
I thought maybe they're in the Master's TARDIS.
I'm glad it wasn't.
I am too. Yeah.
I did not.
Really? Did you have a?
I'm sad about that.
I'm sorry that your baseless speculation wasn't as wild as ours. I'm sorry.
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
I'm sad about the Master thing.
Yeah.
We talked about the Doctor getting angry. There's the one line: "Save the poet, save the universe."
I don't think we did talk about that. It's a flat team structure. Did we talk about that yet?
Well, a little bit, but not
alluded
much.
to it a little bit. Sure. Well, let's talk about
like
it.
I said, I love that it's her big "I am the Doctor" moment, but it isn't done the same way. In fact, she's not thrilled to be doing it.
Yeah. It's like she's kind of like she's really she's chastising the whole team, even though Ryan's the one
and herself to a certain extent.
Just let Barry die. I mean, let's let Shelley die. What the hell? One life to save the. He takes a very logical approach to things, I suppose, but the Doctor doesn't see it that way, and then she gets angry. I like angry doctors, and I don't think sometimes women are allowed to be as angry on TV as male characters a lot. So I enjoyed that it wasn't like a ranting and raving anger, but you could see that this is
it was
a line
Time Lord fury is what it was.
this is a line we crossed, and it wasn't like grah rage that maybe David Tennant would have done. There was there was a much more controlled anger there to her. That was a great performance.
A couple related things to that. Last episode, there's a bit of a reaction, and we talked about it in the episode somewhat last RFS, 3 RFSs ago, I guess now. The reaction to Graham and the Doctor's chat at the end of the episode about her being socially awkward and not not responding to him in the way that people thought should be. We have her kind of chastising Ryan, like, do you want to sacrifice yourself? Do you want me to sacrifice you?
Yeah.
She's kind of like the flip side of that this time around, where she's rather harsh, and how guilty and bad is Ryan going to feel as a result of this?
Until he doesn't exist.
Yeah. And then the kicker part, when she says, "Words matter,"
Yeah.
to Ryan's suggestion, and
which got a cheer, actually.
Yeah,
Did it?
That
Okay.
scene got a cheer too. There were a lot of cheers. In
I
this
saw
episode.
some remarks about, well, if words matter, then why didn't she say stuff to Graham last time?
Right.
So a bit of a double-edged sword there, perhaps. Yeah. What else? So, save the poet, save the universe.
Right.
AKA save the cheerleader, save the world from
No,
heroes.
absolutely not. Nobody remembers that show. That never happened.
No, and there certainly wasn't an actor who used to be on Doctor Who on that show either. So I don't know
not at all.
That never
Which one was that? I don't know.
Christopher Eccleston.
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know he was in Heroes. Okay.
Yeah, I was in Heroes. Yeah,
Second season?
I think so.
Something
I never
like
Well, I
watched
guess
it.
who watched 2 episodes and then didn't care.
Well, that would probably be you, Warren.
Yes, it would.
To address what Warren brought up earlier,
Yes.
with the resistance people.
Yeah.
So I liked the ruse that the Cybermen kind of put on about saving the baby and having shreds of humanity or whatever, compassion.
Yes.
The ruse of the Cybermen seeming to change his mind when asked about his name and if he was a father, only to say he saved Mary's baby because it was useless as a
useless
warrior.
runt.
Useless runt.
And I slit their throats. What
And
what grim imagery.
And he slit the throats of his own children
Yeah.
when they joined the resistance. That's what was said.
Okay. I didn't quite get what he was saying.
Killed his own children when they rose up.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, it's very cold.
But just the way he gets played, Just the direction and the acting with, he's kind of hanging his head in shame,
Right.
leading people to think he's actually got this compassion and empathy and remorse, only to just start like through gritted teeth, just slit the throats of my own children, as it were.
It was grim.
Yeah.
Very dark. This really pushed some boundaries that we haven't seen in the Chibnall era in terms of content and just, tone, I thought.
Well, I think back to the aforementioned Attack of the Cybermen, because that got a lot of negative reactions.
It wasn't quite as good.
Oh, they show Litton's hands.
It was
true,
it was the blood.
No, I'm just saying it was
blood.
in terms of
blood.
quality of episode.
Yeah.
We're comparing here.
Oh, and we're not really doing news, but for those who haven't heard the Graham thing from last week, the conversation between Graham and the doctor, apparently there were some complaints at the BBC about it, and the BBC actually issued a response.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Like the cancer thing, him sort of like saying, hey, doc, I feel bad about the cancer thing and stuff, and the doctor doesn't help for him.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
People, I'll try to find a link for the show notes.
Right. Or not. Maybe save
Or
it for
not.
next week. It's probably what'll happen.
If I remember,
Yeah,
sure.
exactly.
But anyway, it is
Galley.
out there. If for those who weren't aware, haven't seen it, haven't
I
read
wasn't aware.
it.
The Siberium looks like the opening credits. I just noticed this.
It does a little bit, doesn't it? Yeah. Maybe it is.
I liked that the doctor, when she takes the Siberium out of Shelley, she doesn't know how until the Cyberman gives her the genesis of the idea of how to do it with the old Time Lord trick of showing somebody the moment of their death or casting their mind to
Oh,
to when they
right.
die.
Yeah.
Like she got that from the Cyberman, yet somehow it's an old Time Lord trick at the same time.
Wait a minute. When did she get that from the Cyberman?
The Cyberman mentioned something about death.
Right.
I forget what the exact words were, but that sparks the idea for her to go back and mentally bond with
Right.
Shelley.
They have
again
to. You have to kill the host basically to get.
you have to kill the
thing
host
out.
to get the Siberium
Right.
out, and
The doctor tricks
Yeah.
Shelley to think that you're dead now.
Yeah.
I assume Shelley dies by drowning at some point.
I would
during
think
his
so.
Life.
I would
yeah.
assume that's historically
I
accurate
didn't
too.
read far enough ahead, but possibly.
Yeah, because which kind of was confusing because I thought the first time watching it, because remember we see the one flashback of Shelley reaching in to the water and finding the One Ring. I mean the Siberium, and the flash forward to his death is his hand in the water again. I thought, what just happened? Is he not now reaching for the Siberium?
That's
Is he
what I thought,
changing
too.
History or something? I was a little bit confused by that. Yeah.
But it all worked out in the end
I suppose it
by her
did.
explaining it to us.
That's true. Yeah. We're nearing the end of the episode, Chris. Here, you got any?
We're near the end of the list as well.
All right, then. Good.
And then actually the last thing out on the list was I liked the moral quandary the doctor had to face about giving the Cybermen the Siberium because she couldn't trust that the theories that they had would actually work, so she just had to go against Jack and give the lone Cyberman what he
Step one
saw.
is done. Step two is clean up the mess I made. Step one.
Exactly. Yeah, that got a laugh in the auditorium.
That's about where we are and what we're watching here.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Very superb.
Quite so.
Very,
Yeah.
very good episode of Doctor Who.
Yaz almost looks like she's wearing like a denim jacket. I'm like, when did she have time to change? But I don't think it is. I think it's just
It's her
period outfit.
Yeah, I saw a few people say this is perhaps their favorite episode of the Jodie Whittaker era, and certainly their favorite performance from Jodie Whittaker. Certainly in that last one, I think I'm on board with. It was very good.
And we're just getting to the part where Byron is a smug jerk.
Yes.
And then he gets just shot down, not once, but twice.
I do love that. I love that. I don't know the characters' names, but how the one lady says, you hid behind me before, and you were going after this Mrs. Doctor
Claire.
and stuff. And
She shoots him down magnificently.
and then I love how Polly just sort of walks by and think, he's gonna give a retort, and just says, no.
Just looks at him like, yeah, you got burned, buddy.
Walks off.
All right, a friend of the show, Kim Rogers, referred to Byron F. Boy, and I was like, that's a brilliant summation of what he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't, and not knowing Byron either, I'm assuming that he's reading a famous poem of him at the
I
end.
assume that as well.
And it's
that
made
ties into what was going on.
Yeah, it's made to look like he's writing it actually as an ode to the Doctor.
So for what it's worth, apparently Byron in 1824, so just about 8 years after this was set.
Right.
Developed a violent cold, and his doctors insisted upon doing therapeutic bleeding.
Oh, yes. As was
As
the
one
style
does,
of
yeah.
the time.
As
yeah.
was the style of the time, and they used unsterilized medical instruments,
Oops.
and he may have developed sepsis.
There it is.
He got a fever and died.
Well,
Can I just say that Toast and Cole rocks the period wear very well in this?
he rather does. I think they all did, actually. Was very happy to see period wear. And even though Jodie Whittaker still wore the coat, she had a much different top on, and indeed
Yes.
a scarf on in the last scene of the episode. But, yeah, hell of a good episode. Hell of a good episode indeed of Doctor Who, from TV's Doctor Who.
We're just at the bit where she's got the talk at the end.
Yeah.
Now
With
look, you
the
guys, you're
weird
probably gonna get
coordinates.
killed.
I can't wait to see what these coordinates that for some reason Shelley had in his mind was, writing all over the wall, a la The
Well,
Shining style.
you got them from the Siberian.
I know,
Yeah.
but like, what are they? Are
It's
they
in the far future.
Are they
trailer,
coordinates?
whatever
Are
that
they?
means.
Will they translate to something else?
Ah,
We'll find out next week, I suppose, in the Ascension of the Cybermen, the beginning of the 2-part finale
But I like-
of Doctor Who.
I liked how, like, before at the end, before they even get in the TARDIS, the Doctor's like, "You three come with me. We have to have a talk."
Yeah, yeah.
We have
Yeah,
to
that was
have a
good.
talk."
Yeah,
And they do. She's very upfront and gives them the option of, let me drop you in 2020. You don't need to come. And much like we saw at the end of Spyfall Part 2,
Yes.
they're like, no, we're here. We're a group. We're a family.
Yep.
We are here for you. Let's go do this thing. And I still can't help but think that we're going to get some less than happy results coming out of this.
I would think so, at least for one episode.
Yeah.
The two coming up.
we shall find out in the weeks to come. Only 2 more episodes left. 2 more episodes left, and then possibly a special. Probably will be a special, and then nothing until. But hey, let's focus on what's there, and not what's not.
Any other parts we didn't bring
I
up?
don't think so. I think we got most of
I
it.
think we did a lot. We got a lot there. And this is another one of those double whammy episodes where we talk about one Doctor. And then also Gallifrey One, the 31st version of Gallifrey One. Usually this is our sort of like tired recap episode. We're only getting to it like 50 minutes into this thing. So yeah, Gallifrey One. We kicked off Gallifrey One again, as you heard, everyone, on the live show. These go to 11, the longest show we've ever done.
And somehow the smoothest.
It was very smooth.
It went super smooth. Like every panel we did, every segment we did was basically bang on time.
So let's thank the handlers right now, because that's why it was smooth.
The handlers, the stage management,
Yeah.
Tech guys too.
tech, Chip.
Everything worked.
Yeah, it all went so stupidly.
We are
I hope everyone enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun to do.
we are very used to cancellations, no shows, lineup changes.
Life.
Well,
Stuff
not
getting in the
used
way.
to, but it's just like,
We've had enough that it wouldn't be unexpected.
Live
if it
shows are
happened.
like, not just this live show, all live shows are like that.
it is.
A cacophony of circumstance.
Yeah, and we sort of treat it like a TV show. Let's face it, it's kind of like not even the Grand Orange, like your typical talk show, because there's multiple different segments, which means probably initially the guest will get like, oh, here's your block, 10 a.m. till noon.
Yeah.
But they're only needed for like 15 minutes at a certain time, most likely. And so I actually ran
And then
into
you get-
Michael Lee and Bryant and Margot Hayhoe in the elevator the day before, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
were like, they weren't quite sure yet because they hadn't met with their handlers. And of course, we're on at 10 a.m., so oftentimes they show up at like 9 or something. Okay, what's going on today? So the fact that all of that communication happens and everyone is in place so early on in the convention is a testament to everyone working there.
Yeah.
And went off well. And you heard it. It went out in the feed on Saturday.
Friday night.
I know. Actually, I scheduled the website post to go out, and I forgot to actually schedule the MP3 because that's the weekend that it is a galley. So you actually got it slightly earlier than I intended. That's
Oopsie.
a bonus. That's fine. Yeah. Any thoughts on the live show? What else happened on Friday? We had a meetup. We did a meetup as well.
Meet up, yeah, it was good.
Live
That was
show
good.
was good. I still loved the range of people we had, and
And questions, and it became an interesting thing about how people ended up at Gallifrey. It wasn't really about us all that much, except
Right.
for the stats part.
and not that it was something that would likely get missed, but I loved how For the intro music for Peter Davison, you put the All
Yes.
Creatures Great and the Small theme.
I did.
And he noticed
He
it.
noticed
He
it.
noticed it.
For Gary Russell's bit, you put the theme tune to the Famous Five.
I did.
Boy, did he notice that.
Yeah.
He noticed that as well.
Yeah.
So that was I like when we have these jokes is the wrong word.
And
these,
the-
References.
these lighter elements.
The
Yeah.
topper, which you can now tell people about.
Yeah, this the closing credits music, and indeed the closing. It's on our YouTube page, by the way. We're lazy, so we won't be linking it to it this week. But on our Radio Free Skaro YouTube page, youtube.com/Radio Free Skaro, all the intro and outro elements are on there now, and the end credits were done in the exact style of the Sandbaggers closing credits.
which we predicted 2 or 3 people would get, and that was basically what happened.
That was what it was, and I don't care.
That's kind of the point.
I had so much fun doing it.
For the intro video, huge shout out to Jack Kibble-White.
Oh my god!
Oh, yes.
for,
thank you.
for the Dalek one as well.
Yeah, the Dalek animation, which is on there. I think that's on our
That
YouTube
got
page.
such a reaction
Yeah.
from the crowd when it played. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was awesome.
It was, and then it was noon at Gallifrey One out of Friday.
Yeah,
It's like
I don't remember what happened on Friday anymore, so I
Well,
want to pull up my sked for that. But
we did
yes,
our-
we had our meetup.
had our
at,
meetup. It was good.
3 o'clock that day.
I
Lots
did
of
the
people. Yeah.
fan video happy hour, and it was shown to great acclaim, but a much better one was done by the person in front of me who did the thirstiest Capaldi vid ever, as it was termed.
Really?
And it was very thirsty. I am definitely on Team Hetero, but I was
What does
exploring my free agent status
Right.
on that one.
as I
with
look at
the-
your Capapi
with the glory of Capaldi, yes.
Yeah, Capapi. there
What does
being-
thirsty mean?
It means that they showed a lot of images of a very handsome Peter
Yeah.
Capaldi, being
okay.
very doctorish and Capaldi-ish and handsome.
From his Doctor Who time, or from
Yeah, all Doctor Who
throughout?
stuff. All Doctor Who stuff.
Okay, so not like 25 years ago. Capaldi.
No. This is all primo, poofy-haired Capaldi.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Between the live show and the meetup, I had my coffee clutch
Right.
with Pete McTighe and
Russell Minton. Yeah.
which was fun, talking about the Blu-rays for an hour with them
Right.
because they're obviously both involved. Mm-hmm. And then after the Russell pulled me aside after the Cafe Clutch and said, "Hey, let's hang out for a bit later on." And so we did. Stephen and I wore into a point,
Yep.
but you had to cut out. Stood in the hallway for an hour and a quarter,
Probably,
talking
yeah.
to Russell Minton
Yeah.
afterward.
Avoiding doors being opening everywhere. We were fire hazards
had-
essentially
We
during
had
the
to
whole
move
time.
about 6 times.
Yeah, about that.
That was fine, but that was fun. That was a
was.
a fun little chat with him.
Mm-hmm. Didn't get anything out of him.
No.
No.
He's
Trying to
very
get,
good
like,
at
what the next- yeah,
being
I-
very chatty and yet not giving up a damn secret.
I know. What I think I can't, like season 1, I don't think that's coming anytime soon onto Blu-ray. That's what I could decipher. And maybe season 17.
Despite the fact there's very little of it that isn't.
Exactly, but
There.
because obviously they're just waiting for Marco Polo to come back in all
Obviously.
pristine.
That's exactly what he didn't
condition.
tell us.
Yeah, but we could tell. We could tell. Yeah, no, we talked about that. What else happened on Friday?
It's all becoming a blur.
I don't remember anymore. Friday on the thing. I mean, that might have been the only thing I went to. Oh no, because I missed. I wanted to see. Because our friend Riley Silverman interviewed Pearl Mackie.
Yeah.
Ty Gooden interviewed Tosin Cole. Like there was a lot of neat, fresh faces. I love how diverse Galley got on stage this year with a lot of new and talented faces doing interviews.
Yeah, it's totally true.
Adrian Enderle did a behind-the-scenes production panel on Saturday morning with like 7 or 8 guests. I think it was like all the like camera operators, and I can't remember all the guests who were on there. Director and Tracy Simpson was on there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, which one was that? Day in the Life of a Doctor Who production.
Yeah, that was fascinating.
Sally Abrahamian, Michael Collins, Mark Corden, James de Havilland, Mark McCoy, Stephen Morris, Tracy Simpson.
Yeah.
That was the panel, I think, that Tracy Simpson mentioned to this. Remember?
It was a different one.
Was it a different
Yeah,
one?
it was a different
I'm sorry.
panel of that. Yeah, I know she was on. There's many panels. It's all right. Yeah, but that's where she dropped that little nugget of information, and that Chibnall and Whitaker are returning certainly but didn't say if Bradley Walsh and Tosin Cole and Amanda Gill were going to be there.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Speaking of nuggets of information, on our live show, if you recall, Vinay Patel mentioned one of the things he likes about being in the U.S. is being able to go to Taco Bell.
Yeah, Taco Bell.
I went to the somewhat nearby Taco Bell
Right.
for lunch, and saw Vinay Patel there having lunch.
So he wasn't just making things up.
He was not making
He
things
was great.
up.
He was
He's a
like,
man
they
of
were
his
all good
word.
guests, but he was particularly good.
He
on
was
that panel, I
great.
thought.
Yeah,
He was awesome.
he was. Saturday, I had you and I were competing, Warren, because I had a Kerblam commentary at 1 p.m. with Pete McTighe, Stephen Morris, and Matt Roman, who was a Kerblam man, and then you were interviewing Sarah Sutton.
Yes, I was. And I always worry before interviews, and I don't know why with actors, because actors are just so good at talking.
Yeah.
That you can just give them a question, and then a good 10 minutes later, they've charmed the hell out of everybody without you doing any work whatsoever. So,
Right.
so yeah, she was great. And very honest about a lot of stuff, too, which I found interesting.
Kat did the Mark Strickson interview a couple hours before your Sarah Sutton one, and it went very, very well. They did not, for one word, talk about Doctor Who.
Oh, that's good.
Fascinating.
The entire hour is all about his other like zoological work and such.
He's gone on to a hell of a career.
Doctor Who is a 18-month or whatever.
Yeah, and he was
chunk
young,
of his,
too.
chunk of his life when he was early 20s.
Yeah,
Same with Sarah Sutton, 19 years old.
yeah,
Yeah. And she'd already been in the business for
a long time,
a decade
yeah.
or thereabouts.
Yeah. We should mention also. I don't know if either of you had it, but the Verity in defense of. I'm sure you'll hear it on Verity. You'll hear the full
heard it was
tale of
great.
it there. It was riotous. I had never really seen a full one before because I'm usually having to run off and do panels or interviews or something, and it's usually on a Sunday afternoon. But this time around it was on a Friday, and they were kind of concerned about like. Usually, like we get the punchy kind of everyone's kind of punchy and a little bit fatigued and stuff, and that energy carries through on a Sunday afternoon. They were worried how it was going to go on a Friday afternoon. It was bonkers.
And ended with a musical.
It would ended. Listen to Verity talk about it on their next episode. I'm sure they will cover it. I will not try to do it justice here. It was great though. It was superb.
Better coming from their perspective anyway.
Yeah.
That's true. Can we talk about Christopher Eccleston?
Please, by all means, do.
I interviewed Christopher Eccleston on the main stage at
Yes.
Gallifrey One.
It will not appear on this podcast.
No, it will not.
No, it was never
I
intended
thought we
to.
said that in the previous show, but for some reason there was an impression that it would.
Well, just because we record any old thing on this podcast and it comes out, but no, it was never supposed to. It was never to be recorded or anything like that. But yeah, neither of you saw it though, so
neither yours nor the
the one on Sunday with Devon Ty on Sunday. Yeah, well, it was. I mean, I was confident. I knew that this was happening like several weeks ago, so it had been sort of building up in my mind. It decided to manifest itself at about 3:30 in the morning on
Of course,
Saturday.
as it does.
Yeah, and so I decided, okay, I just have to write something down or something. The intro came to me. I sort of did a pastiche on the "Do you want to come with me?" trailer as an introduction. And the great thing is
Trip
that
of a lifetime.
I ended with Trip of a Lifetime. Everyone, like this, and then I introduced Chris Eccleston. And, there was such an energy building in that auditorium throughout the afternoon because, no disrespect to the other panels that were going on before that, but a lot of people were knowing that Eccleston was at 5 and they were staking their claim.
Yeah, this
in
was a
the
big
early
deal for this
afternoon.
con.
It was massive.
Not that they haven't had great guests on before.
No,
they have, but this was
this
a
is
big
Eccleston.
deal.
This is his
Yeah.
first convention. This is like, a
First pure Doctor Who.
pure Doctor Who
Mm-hmm.
convention, which he later called his favorite. And I was like, the hour beforehand, I literally just went and sat backstage and just in the darkness and quiet and just sort of like chilled for a little bit. And then time caught up and then he was there. And all of a sudden, like, he walks in. It's the weird moment when you are waiting for an interview and it's only you. And then a door opens and you can tell, with the light shining behind them, there's 4 people or 5 people.
Yeah.
It's then, okay, the talent and the crew are there. And all of a sudden, here we go. And he was like amazing. Like he just walked right over to me and just, I was sitting down. There's 2 or 3 of the other stage crew there. And I says, "Oh, are you interviewing me?" I said, "I am. I'm Stephen. Oh, nice to meet you, Stephen." I said my name like 2 or 3 times, probably his way to remember it and stuff. And then he sat down. And earlier in the day, I had a thought that what would really bring the house down would be for Eccleston not to just come out on stage, but to come out through the TARDIS.
Yeah.
Which he did with his pose from the show, it looked like.
Well, he just came out of the TARDIS, and I so I sent him, I tell you what, do you want to come out through the TARDIS? He says, "Oh yeah, totally do that." You think, I'm doing a bad accent, but you think that'll give him a kick? That's what he said. I says, "Yeah, I think that'll give him a kick." And so I did my intro, and then like the place is just erupting, and then he comes through that TARDIS, and it was like, just to be a part of that.
Yeah.
Watching and he tried to tried to sit down at first. Everyone is still giving a standing ovation.
Yeah.
I'm standing aside, basically no. I don't know if I actually signaled get back up, but I was basically making no effort to sit down. I wanted him to have that moment. And
I retweeted it from the RFS Twitter account. Somebody shot a 45 or so second video of him coming out and the standing ovation he got and the reaction from the crowd and all that kind of fun stuff. So it was good.
Yeah. It was and we talked about Doctor Who, and we went through his episodes and stuff. He immediately sort of talked about the director of the first block.
Yeah, I heard he dissed Keith Boak.
Not by name, but we all knew who he was. I wasn't going to mention the name, but then he mentioned Joe Ahern, and I was going to mention Joe Ahern and Eros Lynn as two directors who we really did like working with, and there was a lot of positivity and stuff. And he went a little bit into the BBC politics and backstabbing and stuff, and then we sort of swung back around. But there was such a vulnerability and openness and a lot of fun. So early on, literally 2 or 3 minutes in, he says, he stops sort of halfway through minutes. "Are you a Canadian?" He says. I was thinking, yes, I am Canadian. I'm really impressed that you. I was wearing my CBC shirt.
So it's a bit of a giveaway.
Under the place. Well, no, he just recognized the accent. He recognized the accent, and then as an aside, I said, "Did you know that when your series is going to be aired on the CBC, one CBC executive was heard to remark, maybe we should overdub him because we can't understand." And he just immediately stood up, went back into the TARDIS. Everyone's laughing. Everyone came back out. Just, "I hate Canadians," and then that became a running gag throughout the thing about Canadians and all this stuff. He was still doing it apparently. Lee Gao, our friend who was a guest at this con and was at the post thing reception on Saturday night, was saying he was still going on about Canada, and even in the morning panel, he says, "Oh, what would you do to bad things? I'll send them to Canada." So,
by the way, I'd never heard that CBC executive story. I am not the least bit surprised.
Yeah.
Oh, you had none?
Yeah,
wow.
No,
that's what happened. But
did you mention talk about the CBC leak of Rose?
No, I didn't. No, because I didn't.
I'm just curious.
No, it was fun talking to him just about because usually just sort of been touching on vagaries and just sort of how overall that he did in the season, but talking about individual things about how Dalek was a very personal episode.
He gave a shout out to Rob Shearman.
He did.
He gave a shout out to Paul Cornell, saying Father's Day was his favorite episode.
It was.
And then there was the script reading
on Sunday. Yeah.
One of the extras for the con where he did a reading of Father's Day with Paul.
Yeah.
And we got mobbed for autographs. Apparently.
Yeah, which is just fab. I had a whole I thought we talk for 30 minutes about Doctor Who, and then maybe we try to cover other stuff and things like that. It was like an hour. It was an hour solid, and it was just all Doctor Who. And it was, the mentions were, he was trending, for God's sake.
He was trending on Twitter.
Eccleston was trending on Twitter because of an interview at a convention. And it was there was just so much love in the room both ways. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of laughs. It was a lot. It was a moment. It was a hell of a moment. I'm glad in a way that we don't have it on tape to put on the podcast, because I don't know if an audio format could sort of capture how great a moment it was. And it was quite a thing. And then he leaves. We have the big, I think I said, I can't remember. I think I'm going to relieve you of the burden of the word. I'm going to just say that you were fantastic. And I think that's what I said, or something like that. And then we all stood up, and he walks back out to the TARDIS. I meet him on the other side, and he sort of immediately puts his arm around me. That was great. Was that could you get too dark? Was I too against, too sour, I think is the word he says. He says, no, it's absolutely fine. That's part of the story, is you against the BBC and stuff. And he was remarkable. It was remarkable. Yeah, that's a moment. That's a moment I will never forget. It was a trip of a lifetime, let me tell you. Yeah. Yeah, so that was my Saturday, and then I don't know what else. Yeah.
I don't think we can top that.
I couldn't. No. But then I watched a bunch of panel. I watched the great Eccleston. It was a much different vibe. I think he was slightly still tipsy, even from the night before at 10 a.m. for Ty Gooden and Deb Standish's interview with him.
Or just jet lag, perhaps.
And also tipsy.
Yeah, he had just okay, sure.
Yeah, but like it was, and because of that, it was, and just because of the approach that they took to it, was a much different but very complimentary. I thought, like the one on Saturday night was very much like a live, raw show at the end of the day, whereas this is 10 o'clock in the morning. But it was also really good. So I was lucky to get that. And then I watched like 2 hours worth of like Blu-ray panels and animation, Fury from the Deep. And then
our new friend, Kieran Hyman,
yes.
was on stage with Gary Russell very briefly to introduce the Daleks Master Plan episode 2.
You were there for that too? You were there for that one? Yeah.
Wouldn't miss it.
Yeah.
I missed it. I'm terrible.
It was superb.
Is it on YouTube? Samples of the stuff he's done?
No.
Little bits, maybe?
I don't know about the legality of putting the whole episode up
not
on
the whole
YouTube.
episode, just like a 30 seconds.
They had a trailer. There was a trailer.
After the fact, people were asking about it on Twitter, and it was mentioned that there's rights clearances with the BBC and things like that that are not allowing it to be released.
But it looked like,
it was gorgeous. I ran into Kieran just by the Starbucks shortly afterward, and I was just saying how gorgeous it looked. There's one scene where the Daleks are going through the jungle with the flamethrowers burning, and Brett Vion's kind of hunched in the bushes, and there's like a reflection of the flames on his face,
right?
And just the way that was done with the colorization was beautiful, gorgeous.
It was really nice. Yeah, superb work from him and all the rest of the people that.
And he's what, 20? Like, he's a very young guy.
He is a young guy. We met him at our meetup, and I didn't realize we had like a celebrity running. It's just this tall, lanky guy, this tall, lanky Australian sitting in the front row. It's like, look at this.
That's pretty much our version of a celebrity. Hey, this kid busted his ass to make After Effects do something cool. That is what we want to see.
Yeah, well, there's a kid who does the opening animation for Doctor Who now.
I know. I'm not talking them down. I'm pushing them up.
That was a lot of fun.
Very quickly, we have to wrap up. But,
I know.
Warren, you did the.
I did a streaming, the streaming TV for Anglophiles panel. A lot of which mentioned YouTube and how certain shows like Blake 7, for instance, that don't seem to have much attention from the American side of things, just end up on YouTube.
Yeah.
But also we talked about the different services. The surprise conclusion that we came to is that Canada gets nothing.
Nope.
Barely anything besides BritBox.
Yep.
Also, there's a lot of VPN and torrent talk. But anyway.
How to pirate television.
Amanda Ray Prescott was the moderator, and she went into great detail about how to not only watch legitimately all the different genre historical stuff that she's into, but also how to follow the different production companies making said stuff so you know ahead of time what's coming, because it's not that easy to figure it out.
No, it isn't.
And she has a lot of PBS knowledge too.
Oh, that's always good. That's always good. Yeah.
And any other ones you wanted to bring up?
Yeah.
Kablam commentary, perhaps?
Well, I mentioned the Kablam. That was... I tell you what, I'll talk about Kablam next week because I know we got to run a little bit here. But I will say that the closing ceremonies, which is only this... we went to the first one. I think I did anyway.
I did last year when they showed the carpet off, and I bought a square of carpet, by the way, for $20.
Yes, everyone's gonna frame it. I got married on that carpet. I mean, there's a certain connection to it. I went to the one where they did the video to sort of like, hey, would you like Steve Moffat to come? I think and everyone just erupted, and that was a moment.
They topped themselves with this one.
I went to this one because it's Eccleston. I wanted to see what he stopped doing autographs because he's doing them till 6 o'clock, and just to pop on and say goodbye and stuff like that. But then after that, Sean Lyon said, "Hey, we got a couple videos," and the first one, all of a sudden, it's a phone video, and there's Stephen Moffat on there. And says, "Oh, hello, Gallifrey One. I'm the showrunner and
showrunner Eternal, I believe he called himself.
Yeah, showrunner Eternal of Doctor Who." And then somebody's wrestling the phone from him, and it's Chris Chibnall.
Yep.
And then he says, "Oh, where are you going?" And he sort of walks away. You can see Steve Moffat. And then the second video, it's Chris Chibnall in a much more sedate location and stuff. He says, "Oh, hi, hello, Gallifrey One, happy to see you." And then all of a sudden, up behind him, Jodie Whittaker jumps up and down, and
she got a massive cheer.
And she got a massive cheer. Says, "Hello, everyone at Gallifrey One. I loved it. It looks much better out there." And that made like Sean's day because after I said, "How was that video?" Jodie Whittaker just said the name of my convention.
Yeah.
Just like
I was talking to Sean, hopefully he's okay with me saying this. I was talking to Sean, I think it was Friday night, when he mentioned that these videos were going to happen. I haven't seen them.
Yeah.
But just the excitement on his face when he was telling me that Jodie Whittaker said the words Gallifrey One.
Yeah.
That's pretty
He
cool.
was so proud.
Yeah. Maybe she'll be here one day. Maybe one day.
Maybe.
Well, hopefully she'll be TV's Doctor Who for quite some time.
I hope so,
before
too.
then.
One more year for sure. As
Absolutely.
announced in Gallifrey. Yet again announced.
It's tickets going to go on sale I think in 2 weeks' time.
Oh, wow.
2 weeks time.
2 weeks' time, February 29th, I think is
Okay.
when it's going to go on or something like that. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, tickets are
I've heard
available earlier than instead of the mid-April kind of thing. So, yeah,
Okay.
it's exciting. Already, we're looking forward to next
Hotel
year.
is already sold out, and that's not true.
Yeah, it's not sold out. It will be, though. That's it. We got to wrap this thing and get on with the rest of our lives. It's Sunday night at the convention. We all know how this goes down. Thank you for everyone who we ran into who said they liked the podcast.
There's one I was going to say young lady, but she's not that young. Steph, who's
It's old
Here's a shovel.
crone called
Here's a shovel
Steph.
for you.
Yeah.
seeking autographs from the Verities and from us,
Right.
And ran into her at the Starbucks line, and she'd already gotten, I guess, autographs from you guys. And
For her
she
stepdad.
asked for mine, which is still not a request I'm used to.
No,
hearing.
I'm definitely not used to it.
And
And it doesn't happen that often. I just want to point that out.
She's like looking through her wallet and like patting her pockets and stuff like that, looking for something to sign, and there's like nothing around. So she's like, "Are you okay signing money?" So she pulls out a $5 bill,
Wow.
grabs a pen from the Starbucks counter,
$5.
and asks me to autograph this for her
$5.
stepfather.
God.
So hi, Justin.
You technically just like no, you're not.
It's not forgery. What is it?
What is
Fraud?
it? It's like
Def-
you were
defacement.
almost paid for an autograph, but then weren't because I'm going to sign this $5, and unless she uses it, maybe then. Which honestly, no offense.
Why are we delving into the legalities of this?
It's very odd.
It's her money.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you to everybody who came up to us and said hello.
Yes, thank you.
It's always humbling is the best
Yeah,
word I can
that's
think of.
definitely
because
true.
We've been doing this their 12th galley, and we've
12.
and we've done live shows for 10 of those 12, and all the other stuff we've done, and there's still quite a lot of imposter syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit.
From all of us, I dare say. So thank you to everybody. Thank you to Sean Lyon.
Yes.
Huge thank you as
Massive.
ever.
Indeed.
Stage crew. So Heather Lynn and
You're just repeating all the stuff we said at the end of
You
the
got
live
it.
show
Yep.
now. Yeah. So let's-
Allison. And
We're all I took an
Suze.
informal poll earlier of all our friends, and we've all decided we're old and tired.
that is definitely tired.
Star Trek 12. So very tired.
Yes.
Very tired. Gallifrey One, 31 flavors. What's the name of this thing? I don't
31
remember.
flavors of Gallifrey
31
One.
flavors of
What's the
Gallifrey
title
One.
for 32? What does it say?
32 to midnight, I believe, is what it's
And it's
called.
got a James
Okay.
Bond theme, I think.
It's got a
I know
James
it's got
Bond theme.
has the Bond
Yeah.
image. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's for next week. So next week we're back home in all our proper places, talking about episode 9 of Series 12 Doctor Who: Ascension of the Cybermen. So until then, I am Stephen at Gallifrey One.
Warren at Gallifrey One.
And Chris at Gallifrey One.
So long for now.
You've been listening to Radio Free Skaro. Find us online at radiofreeskaro.com, follow us on Twitter and Tumblr at Radio Free Skaro, subscribe to us on iTunes, and donate to the show at patreon.com/Radio Free Skaro. Thank you.